welcome back. Thank you for joining us under the Twin Suns live Scruffy Womp Cantina. Full party this week. I'll let everyone introduce themselves. Hello, it's me, Cole.
Hey, it's Ruben.
Hello.
Uh,
Hello
And
there.
I'm
I'm I'm Steve. I'm going to interrupt everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm Tyler.
And then
Hey
we've got
everyone,
Wade, a
Wade
new
here.
friend. Yeah. Sorry, Wade.
Oh, all
I
good.
feel like we got to redo that whole thing.
Eh, who cares? No, but Wade is a good friend of ours. He's probably one of the better players that we know. Well, he's one of the better players I know. And we'll be talking to him a little bit about the PQ in a minute. But real quick, let's talk about Smuggle's little brother plot. So it's a new word coming with Secrets of Power. As we know, they always do a gimmick for every set. They get a gimmick of some ability. Plot is it says what you can pay. You can play this card using its plot cost rather than or when you deploy your leader, right?
right.
And the only
Yeah.
leader that can do that more than once per turn, which I'm just going to literally throw it right to Steve because I wanted to hear about this. Steve, you played Trench a lot last week, right? That's the only leader
Yeah,
as of
buddy.
right now that can trigger plot multiple times. So I want to hear
Yeah, and in
Steve's opinion.
Twin
Twin
Suns. Yep.
Sons, we
Yep.
can do it twice. But yeah, Trench can do it more than once. But I don't know if there's a whole lot of like I mean, we have obviously haven't seen a lot of what Plot has to offer, but so far there's not really a whole lot that's like, oh, that's so cool with Trench. So hopefully we get something cool because I would like to see him, him be able to do some plotting.
The Jar Jar
But
Binks
the fact
isn't
that you
bad.
have to I mean, the fact that you have to pay 3 just to flip Trench is definitely going to is going to hurt his viability for that because you got to pay for the plot too. So a lot of times when I'm flipping Trench, it's because I have 3 left over. Might as well just flip him. Um,
Mhm.
it's not a whole lot of like this is my whole turn.
I will say I am kind of excited for the mechanic. I feel like it's going to provide the option to customize leaders' flip turns in an interesting way. I feel like Kylo kind of hinted at that this set, where there's some variability as to what you can pull out of the discard, but everything in the discard's known. But I feel like with this new plot mechanic, if it's coming out of resources, it's going to be unknown. So I feel like that could add a fun layer to some of the leader's abilities.
Yeah, I agree. I think the customization of it, but also the fun factor comes into play, especially when you're like, man, I got something I want to play, or I don't have something to play. Oh, let me flip one of my 2 leaders in Twin Suns. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do some plots here. I just think it's a really cool way to interact differently with your leader and the cards that you play, and it's one thing that I really do appreciate is the fact that the creativity, and again, I know I talked about this in a couple episodes before or just, throughout, but I just like the fact of where they're thinking outside the box of stuff. And I like the fact the mechanic with plot is yes, I would love to see more smuggle stuff, but I like the fact how impactful the plot will be. It's literally specifically tied for the set, and I like the way that they got what plans they got for it, even though we've only seen a little bit. But I kind of enjoy the fact that you get to use your resources as another way to do some fun interactions, especially since no one's gonna know what it is. It's like, oh, it's my trap card. Boom.
You've activated my Trench card.
Tyler, any
Yeah, no,
thoughts?
I agree with everything. It definitely I'm a little hesitant as of right now, just because I feel like it's almost like a cop out of like we're gonna rotate out Smuggle with this next set, so here's our cheaper kind of maybe worse version of Smuggle. I'm interested to see. I'm sure there's gonna be some good ones, but so far, I mean, so early on, we really haven't seen much. Um, I will say that one card that lets you I mean, the wording of it technically lets you to put a resource on your card on your board for one
Hmm.
resource, which is really interesting. But it is interesting to note that there will be cards that let you play plot cards without your leader flip, so that will probably add another layer to it. But as of right now, I'm hesitantly interested.
Do you guys think that this is like them trying to fix Smuggle. Like I noticed with Hoth, the intro set or whatever, like there's a lot of those cards that are just watered down versions of cards that are going to rotate out with the next set. Do you think like this is their version of trying to fix Smuggle? Like with Hoth is fixing a lot of
Yes.
like the cards we're playing with now, and this is just fixing Smuggle. Like we're just gonna get like watered down versions of everything moving forward. Like we're gonna
It
get
Yeah.
terrible bounties.
it almost
We're
feels
gonna
like
get
they're trying to
100%.
bring in new players because they realize that we need new players to keep the game alive. The game's maybe a little bit too complex. That was part of the appeal early on as a new player myself when I came in early into set 2. The game was a lot simpler. And maybe they've realized that and they want to take a little bit off they want to take their foot off the gas a little bit cuz yeah, I think that's a good point, Steve. My other point is the reason that I'm cautiously optimistic, as Tyler said, I think there's probably going to be a card, if not multiple cards, that are similar to Tech that give cards plot if they don't already have it.
Ooh,
Yeah. Or at the
that'd
very
be
least,
cool.
it's not a door shut on that because we have Tech. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my opinion.
for now.
Yeah, I think with the new set, and I know we're our Secrets of Power, I think that literally the power is going to shift. Uh, once March comes around again, what the new set will be, and I
Mhm.
think that's going to change the premiere format. So I really hope Plot does something really really good because I think it's fun, and I know Twin Suns. I'm more excited about in Twin Suns than I am Premiere
Yeah,
naturally, but
it feels similar to Exploit, where it's not going to have any impact on Premiere, if not minor, but it'll be fun in Twin Suns. Like, you can't play Droid Exploit decks in Premiere seriously. You can play them in Twin Suns though, especially with
yeah.
Vader now. Um, so Ruben, I'm gonna kind of turn it over to you because you know a lot more about the PQ stuff because I wasn't there, and then Wade. So go ahead, please, with the interviewing of Mr. Wade here and his stellar performance at our local planetary qualifier.
Yeah, Wade. Again, thank you for joining us under the Twin Suns. Again, we talked about it before. You're a local player. You're a good guy. Overall, good guy. You recently participated in the Galactics, which had almost 2,000 players, which is a really big deal in Las Vegas. And then you went to a local PQ, which had about 92 players. You got a top 8 finish in the PQ, getting 7th place, and then you got to day 2 at the Galactics in Vegas, going with a 5-0-3 record. So again, thank you for joining us. So I guess our first question for you is kind of, you know, tell us how you got involved with TCGs and how did you get started with SWU?
Yeah, really glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Uh, so I actually started back in the day playing Star Wars Destiny, and so that was my first collectible card game. Uh, and then took a little bit of a break during the pandemic, but got back into collectible card games with Lorcana. And then with the release of Star Wars Unlimited, definitely wanted to get back into the swing of things as I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So started playing around then, and then set Lorcana aside earlier this year, and have been focusing entirely on SWU since then.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that you really, when you come to the locals, you're like, I'm trying to get some more games in, and you're getting some tests, and I know locally we do our best to kind of help you, with the cards that you need, or you want to swag out your deck, we get that, and of course the league plays kind of helped with getting some more games in it too. So it's pretty awesome to see you doing really well with that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, couldn't agree more.
let me ask you this. This is something that every time I see your name, like, what does your name mean? So what does Steve the Pigeon mean? What is it? Where did you get that from?
It was, I think it was honestly in New York. I worked there for a while, and there's obviously a ton of pigeons. And for whatever reason, I just started calling all of them Steve. And so then at a certain point,
It's a good name. It's a good name.
it's a it's a great name. It's a great name. And so then at a certain point, I became Steve the Pigeon, or the leader of the flock, the swarm of pigeons in New York. So then my wife drew me this
But
little pigeon logo, and so since then I've used it as my username for pretty much everything.
That's hilarious. I remember when I was telling these guys that you were good to go for the podcast for tonight. And I said, "Yep, Steve is good to go." And Steve looked at, made the little message like, "Yep, I'm good." I was like, "Oh wait, I meant to say Wade." When I called the name, so I thought that was pretty funny. Also, I was always curious about that, and I saw whenever I see your melee name, I was like, "What is that about?" So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so you went to the Galactics in Vegas. So why don't you just tell us about your experience? Did you get sucked into any casinos? What deck did you play, and how did it go for you overall?
Yeah. So unfortunately lost all my money, but had a great time
All
at
of
Galactics.
it? I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there.
it's all gone.
It's only up
It's
from
all
here,
gone.
brother. It's only up from here. I'll tell
Yeah,
you what.
yeah. The good news is I can't lose anymore because there isn't any. But is what it is. But yeah, so I didn't have a ton of time in the lead up to Galactics and the release of Legends of the Force to prep, and so really early on in the set, I basically just picked a deck that I felt was strong enough to be competitive. And then I said to myself, I'm going to get as many games in as humanly possible before the main event. And so showed up with Han 2 Green Force. And I had probably been able to get in 200 to 300 games prior to Galactics on that list. I was running a very, very tight stock list, so nothing too surprising. Um, but I just knew that if I had enough reps, I'd have a decent chance of making it through the day one qualifier into day two. Uh, so ended up having a really great time at the event. The main event on both day one and day two were run really quite well, and met a ton of great folks too. Uh, had a pretty fortunate set of matches in the lead up to making day two. It was basically paired against mid range all day. So I saw a ton of Han 2 Blue, which I went undefeated against, and then also beat a Quinlan Tarkin town in round five, and saw a Chancellor Palpatine, the flip leader that I was able to beat earlier in the day as well. Uh, and then fortunately started 5-0, so was able to just draw my way into day two from that point on.
Nice. That's awesome. I just knowing that there's so many people there, and like you're played against, there's like almost 2,000 players there. So yeah, really good job on that. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
you came back from the Galactics and had a good successful run there, and then you recently played in the PQ like we mentioned earlier with over 90 players. So why don't you just tell us kind of what you learned and what did you play there, and any advice for our listeners?
Yeah. So I had been toying around with an OB yellow force list that plays pretty aggressively, but still uses uh, similar mechanics to the Han 2 green list with like General's Blade trying to go a little bit wider and just outrun some of these other mid range decks or control decks. And I'd had some decent success with it, but there were a few matchups that I felt like were just unwinnable or very unfavorable for the list. And I was worried I was going to see a couple of those at the event. To be honest, Boba probably isn't a great matchup, depending on how quick you're able to open with OB Yellow. And so, because of that, I was a little hesitant to commit to it for the tournament because I knew I wanted to. Uh, I'm trying to qualify for Worlds next year to avoid having to try to play in on day one. So I wanted to give myself the best chance, and so ultimately I ended up just saying I'm going to play just a slightly modified version of the list I'd played at Galactics. Uh, so that ended up being pretty solid meta call, as I ended up running into a ton of boba lists, which I would say I feel really comfortable into. Uh, so throughout the day, I saw Kira ECL, which I would say typically I don't like to see that, but a slightly newer player who really played the list quite well. But I think there were just with the number of reps I had on the list, it was pretty advantageous for me. And then I saw 3 consecutive Boba data vaults, which I felt bad for the third player I faced because I think he was a very strong player and had a win-in opportunity for the top 8. But I told him I'd seen the list 2 times in a row now, and so was just feeling quite comfortable with the matchup at that point. In round 5, though, I saw a really interesting Kazuda security complex list that was quick. And the shield was giving me a surprising amount of difficulty because the only removal I really have in my list is either direct damage or force throw. And so I don't have a great way to ping shields off things, especially in space. So that was an interesting match. And then round 6 and round 7, I had buys, but it was quite exciting for me, having been at Galactics. But the 2 people I had buys against in those last 2 rounds were in the top 8 at the Galactic Championship. So it was cool to see. It was cool to get to meet them and then have the chance to play them in the top 8. And then
Nice.
once I, yeah.
Go ahead and finish your thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say in the top 8, I faced probably the matchup that I didn't want to see. It was Hantu Blue, and I think since Galactics, with the inclusion of Owen Lars, I've had a little bit of trouble with that matchup. I didn't drop a game to it at Galactics, but with some of the adjustments they've made, like more specifically cards like the 6-cost Obi-Wan Kenobi Sentinel and Owen Lars, as well as Chewbacca, there are just some really pretty punishing lines that Hantu Blue players can employ to make it quite challenging for Hantu Green to stand a chance. So because of that, I was playing a little bit more of an aggressive role in the matchup, but my opponent smartly opened both games with Grogu, which is a really difficult card because it forces me to basically play on curve as opposed to ahead of curve. And then he also had the advantageous trades with the shielded units like Itinerant Warrior. But yeah, all that's to say, I had a great time. The person I lost to in the top 8 ended up winning the PQ and was quite smart. And I believe was also the 2013 world champion for Star Wars X-Wing.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I thought I had recognized him from something, so I looked him up, and that was it. So,
Wow,
but all in
that's
all,
awesome.
yeah, it was a great event. Battlegrounds did a great job hosting it, and everything ran really smoothly. I think, as far as meta thoughts go, for others playing in PQs, I think I would not recommend Hantu Green unless you have 300 games or more. I think Hantu Blue is better. If I had 300 games with Hantu Blue, I would play Hantu Blue, certainly. But I would also say that I really think the Iden Control list has legs and is really competitive. And then I've also been pretty impressed by Quinlan Tarkin Town's ability to kind of just hold its place in the meta.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I still like Talzin a lot as well. I feel like any of those 4 lists are really viable. I think Boba has some great matchups, but I also think it has some bad matchups. And I think it has a hard time addressing or like overcoming its bad matchups even after sideboarding. So I've not taken Boba as seriously, but I think it's still a good list. I think you just have to some extent,
Right.
avoid some of those
Yeah.
bad lists.
Yeah, that's good, and that's kind of what is a good segue here because, and I know that our guys Tyler and Steve, our Steve, not Steve the pigeon, also went to the PQ, and I guess this is kind of a question for you guys, and I'll start with you, Wade, on this one. Being a competitive player in SWU, how do you feel about this current meta? Do you think that this is what we will expect, or do you think things are still evolving? And I'll start with you, Wade.
Yeah, I think things are still evolving. I think at Galactics it was a little too early for there to be any control represented just because it's hard to build a control list when you don't fully understand what the meta is comprised of. But I feel like the control arm of the meta is starting to show up, and I think it'll only get better as the set goes on.
Yeah, good points. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. It definitely in the early game everybody was trying set five, or trying these four stacks, seeing how powerful they were, and then once people realized, wow, they're really good, everybody shot to space. With yellow, with Vader yellow, with the Gazuda, with everything aggressive in space, and then that's pretty easy to hate out. So once that started getting hated out, everybody's now shifting back to like Han and Quinlan and these more force-based decks, and I think that ebb and flow will be there for until something does settle. And usually, control is what ends a meta, as people decide like what they need to answer. Once they have all the answers, they know what they need to answer. That's usually when
Right.
things are starting to settle down.
Yeah, I agree, and I think control is one of those things. It just makes sure everyone is in check. Like we can't have these aggro decks running around. We can't have these mid-range decks running around. Let's just literally get in here and mess things up. And Duncan, another one of our local players, he was running Bosk Blue again, and got a top 8 finish as well. So yeah, control is legit, and I think once this thing like settles down and people are seeing what they got, I think control is gonna bring it back. So Tyler, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Steve hit it kind of right on the head. I think this meta is wide open. I think it's the most wide open we've seen since at least I've been in the game. Like, I mean, I know there's like the list that kind of stand out, like Quinlan Tarkentown, Boba, Data Vault are kind of the ones that you're gonna see, and the Han list as well. Those are the ones you're gonna pretty much guaranteed to see. But besides that, I mean, you can kind of just prepare to see some weird stuff. I mean, like Wade mentioned, like a Kazuda security complex. I would have never guessed I would see that, but it's really interesting. I think people should feel comfortable playing whatever they are most comfortable playing. I know my uncle actually came up to play in this PQ, and he was asking me some advice on what list to play. I was like, honestly, play whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable with. And he ended up playing, I think, a set one Grand Inquisitor yellow like space list, which is interesting. I don't know how he did. I don't think he did too well, but hey, I think he had a good time, and that's all that matters really. I think in
Mm-hmm.
this game.
Cole, any thoughts on your side on it?
It looks like a hoot and a holler. I've seen so many good lists that are able to play so different ways, and I think it's awesome. I'm happier than ever with the meta.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited about everything I see. All right, Wade. Well, thank you and for your input on all this fun stuff. So yeah, thanks again for the getting us a little bit of insight of your thoughts. The fact that you played 200 to 300 games getting ready for this is astounding, and it's a testament to you doing so well in these major events because you put the time in, you did the grind. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, really appreciate the ad. Thanks for including me, guys.
All right. Thank you, Ruben. Ruben, I'm going to hand it over back to you, actually,
Hey.
for your new game, Opening Hand. Do you want to explain how this is? I'll throw up a screenshot of the hands that we're going to be looking at.
Sure. So, always trying to come up with different segments, try different things out. And I think I remember doing something like this back in the Magic days. So basically, what this is, we're gonna randomly pick a deck that is either a meta deck or some kind of fun deck. Draw 6 cards. I used Force Table to randomize it, just to see exactly what it is. Um, and you kind of decide on what do you want to do. Do you want to mulligan? What are your resources? And kind of explain what these 6 cards are. Explain what you would do with it. And to add some more spice to it, we're going to talk about what your archetype is. So in this one, we're going to start off with the first one is the archetype that you're playing is mid-range. Your leader's Han 2, your base is Jedi Temple. I wonder who played this. And your opponent's archetype is going to be aggro. They're playing Boba. They're playing the JTL Boba, and they're running Data Vault. So this is kind of similar to what our guy Wade played against in the PQ. So I want to kind of throw it up there. So your opening hand is this. You've got Grogu. You've got Bright Hope, a Home One, and the Legends of the Force, Kiadi Mundi, and the ship Red Leader. That is your opening hand. You know what you're playing against. What do you do with that hand? And I'll start with Steve. With your opening hand, what do you want to do with it?
I think I'm gonna keep it. I think I'll resource probably like a Home One and a Bright Hope. Probably, I could be wrong, but my opening thoughts would be, well, I'm just gonna slam Grogu turn 1, and turn 2, I'm gonna swing with it, get the Force, and play Kiadi. I guess. These are dirty heroic decks, so it's kind of hard to say.
All right. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this is a pretty awesome hand. Knowing Han's ability, where you get to deal 2 damage to something and play it 1 cost less. That Grogu, I know, is just kind of the play you want to see opening. So as soon as I see that, I think you got to keep, especially when you go Grogu to Kiadi. That's pretty gross. So
All right. What are you
definitely, I would
resourcing?
keep. Probably the same Steve said, Home One and Bright Hope. I don't think Home One's not gonna be seen for a while, and one Bright Hope is good enough, I think, in the matchup.
Cool.
I agree with everything said. I would be afraid. My fear is always when I'm playing, what worse hands can I pull? I've been playing a Obi-Wan deck lately. I'm done. I'm over it. The 3 of the hands I pulled last week all had above a 4 or 5 curve. Like I had no turn 1 or 2 play several times, and let me tell you, that was bad. So when I see a playable hand these days, oh, I'm taking it.
Nice. Okay. So let's go with Wade. He seems familiar to you. What would you do?
Yeah, this is looking quite familiar. Uh, what I would say is I definitely keep the first hand. The card I really want to see is Grogu, like you said. I think though I would keep Kiadi Mundi, but I would probably look to play him on curve and actually go turn 1 Grogu, turn 2 move damage, and probably play Blue Leader, or potentially if they are off to a hot start in space, maybe throw out a damage Bright Hope on turn 2 just to slow them down. Uh, Grogu is absolutely busted in this matchup, given how many units they have that are susceptible to the 2 damage shift. I also think it makes their indirect damage feel almost criminally bad sometimes because you can just move it right back. Uh, so typically, if you open Grogu in this matchup, it's pretty advantageous for Hantu Green.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it's blue leader, not red leader when I put down. So thank you. Good correction on there. Yeah, I think that is a good call. And which 2 cards you say you would resource?
I think I'd resource home 1 and definitely one of the Bright Hopes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good call, and I think, like you said, the curve is really, really important here. I mean, it looks really good. Home One definitely be one that I'd put in there. And yeah, the Bright Hope. I think this is probably a really good starting hand for you, especially if you're playing against space. So yeah, I think that is. I think we're all pretty much on the same page on that. So it looks like we know how to pilot your deck, Wade. We just don't know how to. We haven't played that many games of it yet, though. So, cool. Yeah. So yeah, this is what the segment is. We also have a mulligan hand just in case. Let's just say for whatever reason you're not comfortable with the hand, or you think that is, um, it's not going to work for you. The mulligan hand was a Yoda, Legends of the Force, a Bright Hope, a Kalaran,
Color and back,
a Grogu, uh, Grogu, another Yoda, and a Force throw. So that is what you would have gotten if you would have mulliganed that hand. So it kind of went a little bit extreme on the other side. So it's kind of good to see what you have, even if you might have an extra bright hope there. You'd have some options there too. So cool. So yeah, new segment. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I always enjoy looking at hands and kind of theory crafting on what we could do, what happens with it. So yeah. So thanks.
Thank you, Ruben. All right, now
Yeah.
I will take back over. So, segment debatable. Just quick thing we want to debate. Something in Star Wars Unlimited that's very interesting. I have an answer to this. I've been thinking about it after I read it. As you all know, we've kind of all gotten a little bit back into Magic the Gathering. We've been having a lot of fun. There's competitive and there's casual. In the Magic world, we all play pretty casually. My big complaint about competitive Magic Commander is the cost of it. Because to be able to compete at a competitive level, you have to put the high level of hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into it for very specific small cards that are like $100 here, $100 there. So my opinion I would love Twin Suns competitive because I don't see the same issue. One of the only things I do not like about the Magic competitive world is it's just so much more expensive. The most expensive card in this game is $40. I'm not saying you can't make an expensive Twin Suns deck, but you can make a cheap one too that's also very competitive. I love it. I would love to see competitive Twin Suns. I want to see competitive everything. I want to see competitive Limited, which I know is coming. I want to see Trilogy. I want to see Premier. I want to see it all. More game modes, the happier. That's my opinion.
I'm actually going to take the opposite on that one. I don't want to see a competitive Twin Suns emerge at all. I remember back when I was trying to learn how to play Magic, I had built this very for fun commander deck, and I met a guy I was working with, and he said he played Magic, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Let's play. Let's play. I got a commander deck, and he brought his turn 2. I tutor my win condition, and then I vomit my hand
tutor.
onto the table, and then and then I play it for free, and then I do 1,000 damage, and it was the most like, I don't know, waste of time feeling that I've ever had. And I know Star Wars Unlimited isn't at that point yet. We don't have like turn 2 kills or anything like that. We don't have that, but I'm saying that the spirit of it is it's for fun, and once you start saying competitive, then all of a sudden you're gonna have like the same thing we have in Premiere. Basically, you're gonna have 4 decks that always win, and you're not going to be able to play Trench. You're not going to be able to play, your Finn or your crazy, for fun decks anymore because it's competitive. So I would like to see Twin Suns stay the way it is.
Let me chime in next on this, Steve, and this is why I agree and I disagree with you on this. Competitive Twin Suns, I think, won't have that what you experienced like EDH has for competitive Commander Magic, and the reason why is this: one is it is a back and forth, right? You take an action, I take an action, kind of thing, but there's always that balance of the force with the other players at the table. So if they see someone is being ganged up on or someone's like this happening, that means they're gonna have to kind of pivot and be like, okay, well, why is this person getting hit, and it's gonna make the game go faster, and they might not win. So it's kind of there's gonna be that balancing act of that, which I think is gonna be kind of fun. And again, like Cole said on this, competitively, Twin Suns would be very affordable to play unless you decide to swag out your deck, which is perfectly fine, which is so cool. You can do all that fun stuff, put all the best prestige cards, put ever the best hyperspace foils. Is fantastic. But again, it'll never be the price as what competitive commander is for Magic. So I would like to see that on a different level because I know that the balancing act with everyone else at the table would kind of make sure that doesn't happen. Again, there is none of this turn 2 play will happen for you to win the game. I really think that the players at the table won't allow a true beatdown of one person because the game will be over. So that is just my hot take on it. Would I like to see it? Would I like to see it at a level that it is for like Premiere or you know, it would be kind of fun to see. And I really hope down the road that Twin Suns introduces other counters, which would kind of change that up too. So, but yeah, so that's my hot take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on a crossroads here. Like, when I hear Twin Suns, I hear I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna play a deck, and I'm gonna have fun. And when I hear competitive Twin Suns, I hear I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna kind of break a little sweat here, and I want to try to win. And that doesn't really feel like it captures the Twin Suns energy to me. At the same time, I do see a world where competitive one could work. Um, I do think that for competitive Twin Suns to work, I think there needs to be some rule tweakings, like officially through FFG. Like I know we've tried the whole add 10 health to whatever base you're using, and that makes it feel so much better and so much like your deck can actually do stuff before it's over on like
You
6
get the
resource
7 or
turn.
8 resources, yeah.
Yeah. Which I definitely think that like that's always been my biggest thing is that Twin Suns games take like 15 minutes sometimes, and I always like to like hang out and have a good time and play for a while. So I think until they kind of make those changes to make it more competitive and more like games last longer and are I don't want to say worth playing, but I get to a point like where it's people can play the decks that are going to do the thing before it's over. If you yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it needs
that
to
makes
happen
sense.
before we can get there.
Agreed. Any other closing thoughts, anyone?
Yeah, I'd just it would suck to have like the top four be like, yeah, it's Boba and Django versus Boba and Django with their triple dark raid and their DJs, and you know what I mean? Like it would just get to the point where it's like, yeah, everybody's playing that deck, you know, and it would, and you thought Django mirrors were painful before. Imagine a four-way mirror, you know. Um, I'm just not feeling it.
I guess we'll find out. Let us know below your thoughts. All right, Steve, name that card. You got a card in mind?
What's that card?
Gentlemen, I do have a card in mind, and it is a card that I will have in my mind. We will do Ruben, Cole, Wade, and Tyler will finish us up.
All right, let's get this one out early. And I know Steve is prepared for this question because I got it from Cole. Is this a weekly promo card?
This is not a weekly promo card. I was ready for it this week.
Awesome. Is it my go?
Yes.
What set is it from?
This is from set 4, Jump to Light Speed.
I could go bold here and just pick a card.
You could. That would be the
Wow.
biggest balls.
That's,
That would be
that's a
crazy.
flex right there. I've seen all the cards. I've played all the games.
Yeah, this is why I can't go back to Vegas. Yeah. I'll go with what are the aspects for the card?
Aspects are cunning only.
Is this a unit?
This is not a unit. All right, Ruben.
Oh man, see this is you're supposed to ask how much it cost. Let's see.
Sorry, man. Jeez.
What? Hmm. What rarity is it?
This is a uncommon.
Okay.
What are the traits?
Tactic.
Interesting.
Wait.
I'm tempted to guess again.
Hey man.
Just bet it all on black.
I'll go cost. I'll go cost.
The cost of this card is 3.
I'm glad I didn't guess.
Oh, wait. The card I had in mind, I think is 2. Oh no, that I had it. Well, at that point, I think I might just swing for the fences. You know,
Go
Brew
for
it,
it.
they say. Yeah, I think this costs 2, but I'm gonna guess. Is it? What's is it, I think it's is it sweep the area? What it's called, I think.
It is sweep the area. Is it
Yay!
full cost?
Yay!
Good job, Tyler.
Oh, put it
Very
all on
good.
black.
Congrats, man.
Return up to 2 non-leader units in the same arena with combined cost 3 or less to their owner's hands. Very good job.
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
peaked. I feel I'm never coming down from this high.
Awesome. Well, Wade, thank you for coming on. We appreciated having you. We appreciated letting us pick your mind. And good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks for including me all. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody
Wade.
for tuning in, and
Thank you.
have a wonderful evening, and bye-bye now.